What's going on, everybody? My name is Nostalgia FPS. Thank you for tuning in to another video here on the channel. So as you guys know, my channel is mainly a Call of Duty channel, but because the servers are shutting down for Halo 3 in December of 2021, I wanted to give it a fair shot for the first time ever. So I was a player on PlayStation 3 for most of the time I was in high school, and I never gave Halo 3 a shot. I did get an Xbox a little bit later on. I started in 2018 on Xbox, but still really never looked into Halo much outside of Halo Reach. So I decided I would get Halo 3 and try it out for the first time here for you guys today. Now there's some things that I really like about Halo and some things that I'm not a big fan of, but overall I think Halo 3 is an amazing game and it's definitely worth a shot if you have the chance to play it before the servers shut down this year. But I see things a little bit differently just because I didn't have those times of nostalgia to look back on. And of course I'm playing this game way after its prime, so my assessments aren't really that fair, as the game is basically in a dead state. It's also a part of the Master Chief Collection, so it's technically remastered and on multiple platforms, so playing it on its original all this time later, it's not so fair to the game. So as I just mentioned right there, the game is pretty dead compared to when it was back in its prime. Right now there's about 500 players on weekdays that are in the Social Slayer playlist, which seems to be the most populated playlist. I do think it's also kind of interesting how the matchmaking works. It won't start a game unless it's full, so that makes things a little bit more difficult, especially if you're sitting in a lobby of 7 or 8 players and then the lobby disbands just because they couldn't find those extra 3 players. Still, I think it's really cool that there's a small community keeping this game alive, and I'm thankful that it's alive enough for me to make this video. So jumping into the pros for this game, let's start at the first point I have, which is a high time to kill game unless you're talking about snipers or explosives. Each gun takes quite a few shots to kill an enemy player, which means that you have to hit more shots consistently and you have to be a little bit more skillful to eliminate an enemy player, and I think that's a really great thing for games. Games with low time to kills, they're usually a little bit more campy and a little bit more noob friendly. I look at Modern Warfare 2019 as a perfect example of that, but I think a high time to kill is really great for Halo. The next thing is fun gunplay. I think there's a great variety of weapons in Halo 3, including like the alien guns, and I didn't see too many like snipers or anything in this playlist, but that's just because I didn't know where the gun spawns were. But I think the gunplay is really fun in Halo 3. As I kind of alluded to right there, I think the aspect of Halo that's so unique is that there's weapon spawns all around the map. You see that now in Splitgate because it's kind of a copy of Halo and then Portal, but with Halo having unique set spawn points for weapons, it brings you back to try and get that gun, try to compete for the rocket launchers and snipers and things like that. I also think the maps are really great in this game. No map feels too big or too small. The flow of each game is really fun, and I think that the small maps, when it is a little bit more hectic, it's honestly a little bit more fun, just because there's so much going on. The colorful graphics of this game are really fun. You know, I play Modern Warfare 3 most of the time, which doesn't have much saturation, but going to this game and seeing all the colors and graphics, it's really great that this old game looks so good. And then, as I talked about a little bit, there is a lively player base that's still keeping this game alive, and I think that's awesome. If you're willing to wait, you're always going to be able to find a match, it seems like. So definitely, like I said, if you're trying to give this game a try, see what you can find in the Social Slayer playlist. Okay, on to the negatives, and some of this is nitpicking, but coming back to this game, it does feel a little bit old. The first thing is no sprint, and I could be a complete idiot and I just didn't see the sprint button, but it does feel a little bit slow having to jump everywhere around the map. The next thing was limited FOV. Now, this wasn't an issue back in 2011, but going and playing PC games and console games with FOV sliders, having this really tight FOV, it was kind of hard at first for me to adjust to it. It's not a problem in the long run, but for this playthrough, it definitely bothered me. The next thing is clunky controls. Halo has a very non-conformative, or basically the controls aren't very standardized. For this game, you have to tap LB to reload. There's just a lot of controls that I would have put in different places. There might be other button layouts that are a lot better that I just didn't notice or didn't take the time to go through, but the default button layout is definitely a little bit clunky. The other thing that I think you can see here in the background of this gameplay is that there was no player replacement. So if a player on your team left, there wasn't somebody else that was being put in the lobby to replace them, and there was no penalty if you wanted to back out of a game early, and that was definitely kind of unfortunate just as far as keeping the lobby populated and having more targets to shoot at. It made the game feel a little bit slower than it was intended, but overall I was just happy to find a lobby that I was able to play in, so that wasn't too much of a concern. I also noticed with the Xbox edition, it's only running at 30 FPS. I know this isn't a problem if you play the Master Chief Collection, but playing it on its original hardware, you definitely notice the 30 FPS. It's not as smooth, it's a little bit more choppy, but that's not too much of a problem. And then the last thing that I have for the negatives is with that really high time to kill, it seems like the explosives are a huge meta. So if somebody else gets a rocket launcher or a well-placed grenade against you, you really have no chance. This makes the game really fun if you have the explosive, but if you have the explosives going against you, you're dying over and over again. Okay, well that was a lot of complaints, but I really did enjoy the game. I'm super glad that this community is alive. I'm really sad that the servers are shutting down at the end of 2021, but I know that in the time being, it'll be a lot of fun still coming back to this game. So that is about it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like or subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.